when I made Lavender Country, I had to make a very clear decision where there was not any middle ground. I could choose to try and develop a career on stage, or singing, or going to Nashville and doing country music and writing fluff heteronormative songs. Or I could be a screaming Marxist bitch. And I could not do both. Both were absurd. So it was a stark and clear choice that I had to make. And it was a painful choice, but my objective was clear, and I knew who I was, and I knew what I had to do. And I chose the screaming Marxist bitch path, and the record is reflective of that. The beauty of the record is, because I was not playing up to any commercial anything, and because I knew, we all knew, nobody was going to buy or sell Lavender Country, what that meant was that we weren't kowtowing to any industry, anything, or what was normative for music, or we weren't trying to fit in because it was gay country and we couldn't fit in no matter what we did, period. So that opened the door for us to be able to say what we had to say, and that turned into the real beauty of Lavender Country. I want to diverge a little bit.
Sure.
Because since Lavender Country came to, I was just living a normal life, being an activist and being a parent and being a husband and doing old songs to old people in nursing homes, and I was just another person, and I wasn't looking to have Lavender Country do anything. I didn't cause Lavender Country's upsurge. It happened on its own, and other people kicked it up into the sky, not me. I wasn't aspiring to that, and I didn't necessarily want it. And I was also 70 years old, and it was a little late, right, to start a country music career, but that's what happened. And one thing led to another and another and another and another, and interviews and documentaries and movies and ballets and absurdly ridiculous things that I never dreamt possible happened. And people started calling me all kinds of names, like hero. What the fuck are you talking about? And like, grandfather of a genre, and like inspirational, and like, a national treasure, and all this other happy horse shit. And I was like, who are you talking about? So I want to put that in perspective, because this is going to be difficult. People are calling me all kind of hero and shit, right? That's not who I am. If you've read the book Moby Dick, Captain Ahab was the hero, and he died. And Ishmael was the narrator of the story who survived and lived to tell the tale. And that's who I am. I'm Ishmael. I'm not Captain Ahab. I'm the narrator. I'm the preserver of the history. I'm the one who lived to tell the tale. I'm not the hero. So it's really important to get that. Because I was with the heroes, and I know who they were, and they're dead. So I want to tell you about some real heroes, and so that you can get this in the proper perspective, because the music industry has a way of turning you into something that you're not. And I don't want that. I want to be who I am. So I'm going to tell you a couple of stories about some real heroes. The first story is about Bobby Campbell. I met Bobby Campbell in 1971 when he was 18, and I was 26. Bobby Campbell came from privilege. His father was a high mucky-muck military, and he grew up in going to private schools in France and Spain. He came from privilege, had a privileged education and a privileged background, and he walked into the door of the Seattle Counseling Service. He was 18 years old. He just got out of Paris, and he said, "Are you Patrick?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "I heard you were a Trotskyist communist." And I said, "Yes, that's true." And he said, "Darling, do tell, I want to know everything." so that was kind of a picture of who he was. And Bobby Campbell was one of my best girlfriends. And we had two things in common. Number one, we were both into nature and hiking and going into the woods and all that. And number two, we were both bathhouse sluts. And so we did those activities together, and we became joined at the hip doing those two things. Bobby was brilliant, and Bobby ran around being a little whore for a few years, and then he went to nursing school. And then he took a master's degree in gay men's health care. You've got to remember, this man was brilliant. And then Bobby Campbell was the third person to be diagnosed with Kaposi sarcoma, i.e. gay cancer. That's what they called it back before it had a name. Bobby, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And he said, "I'm going to turn myself into the AIDS poster boy. I'm going to be the national AIDS poster boy. Because I'm smart, and because I have a degree in nursing, and because I have this master's degree in gay men's health care, and because I know more about this bullshit than anybody in Atlanta or anybody. I know what's going on, and I'm going to put myself out in front." And pretty soon he was flying around the country, giving educationals to all these doctors who couldn't figure out what the hell AIDS was. And he was the one that was telling them, that it was HIV. And he was the one that was telling them how it was transmitted And that no, it wasn't transmitted through oral sex, it was transmitted through anal sex, and it was transmitted through needles, and nobody was believing him, but he was right. And he was right, and he was right, and he was right because he was brilliant, and because he understood what was going on. So he ended up on the cover of Time magazine for his contributions to the struggle against AIDS. And he was my best girlfriend, right? The other thing that Bobby and I shared was a love of nature, and he talked a lot about how he wanted to combine the gay movement and the nature movement, the movement to save the planet. And we talked about how to do that, and there was a disconnect, and we talked about it for a long time, about how to connect those two things. So Bobby called me up one day and he said, I've got it. I've got the connection. I said, oh, really? I said, what is it? What is it? And he said, no, I'm going to show you. Let's go for a hike. Well, Bobby was a mountaineer. I'm not a mountaineer. I was a camper and a hiker, but I didn't climb mountains. But he did. And we went to this place called the Needles, which is in the Olympic National Park. And it's very well named because of these rock spires that go up into the air 800 feet off the valley floor that are vertical. So we were walking down the path, and we got about a quarter of a mile, and he said, okay, I'm going to show you. I'll be right back. And he went into the bushes, and he came out back onto the path wearing his hiking boots and a Girl Scout uniform. Complete, authentic, with badges and everything that he had found at Goodwill. And he said, do you think this will do? Does this hook it up? And I'm going, yeah, Bobby, it really does. So he had this Girl Scout uniform, and it was above the knee, and he was wearing his hiking boot, and he wasn't wearing any underpants. And we're walking down the trail, and we're greeting. Bobby was very congenial and well-spoken and soft-spoken, and we were walking up the trail, and he was greeting the families coming down, and he was wearing his Girl Scout uniform. Oh, how are you? Isn't it a lovely day? Your children are so cute. What are their names? Like that. And we get to the Needles, and it's getting to be midnight, or the sundown. And Bobby is like sitting there for a couple of hours studying the Needles. The Needles, and there's a bunch of mountain climbers, like 25 of them, with their pitons and ropes and everything they need to climb the Needles. And Bobby came to me after the sun went down, and he said, I can climb the Needles without any rope or piton. I said, Bobby, don't say that. Don't scare me like that. You can't climb the damn Needles without a rope or a piton. He said, yes, I can. I said, Bobby, don't do this to me. Don't go. I love you. You can't do that. And he shook me. And he said, listen, this looks different when you have AIDS. I have AIDS. I am going to die. The world looks different now. And I know what I'm doing. And I know why I'm doing it. And I am going to climb the needles without a rope or a piton in the morning. At this point, I'm bawling my eyes. Bobby, you don't go. Don't do that. Don't go. And he got up in the morning. He was the first one up. And up the needles, he started climbing. No rope, no piton. In his Girl Scout uniform. Without any underpants. With all of these hikers and mountain climbers looking up his skirt as he's going. And he's calling back to them as he's climbing up. Oh, you're going to need a number 4 piton for that crack. A number 2's not going to work because the crack widens out. Oh, you're going to have a 40-foot rope to do that. You can't use a 20-foot rope. It's not long enough. And he's calling out instructions to these experienced mountain climbers, telling them what rope and what piton to use while they're going up the needles, while he is in his Girl Scout uniform without a rope or a piton. He's the first one to the top. And he's the first one to the bottom. And he's giving these guys, all these straight white guys who are mountain climbers, instructions about how to climb and where to climb and what equipment to use and what equipment not to use all day long. And he's the first one to the bottom. And we're building a fire. And these guys start coming around our campfire one by one, like, whoa. Like, who are you? And why did you climb the needles without a rope or a piton? And why are you wearing a Girl Scout uniform? And what is going on? So we have like 25 guys around our campfire, and Bobby said, I didn't climb the needles to show off or to aggrandize myself. I climbed the needles because I wanted to get your attention, because I have something very important to tell you. And then he goes into the tent and he gets out all of his AIDS educational materials. And he says, okay, this is HIV, this is how it's transmitted, this is how it's not transmitted, this is how you can protect yourself, this is how you can protect your wives and girlfriends, this is the deal. And then here's how you can save your life in the AIDS crisis. And he gives a full-blown AIDS educational by the campfire that lasts a couple of hours. Okay, that's a hero, right? That's not me. That's not what I did. That's what he did. That was the day I saw a hero. And every mountain climber in the place saw a hero who climbed the mountain for a reason, because he had something to tell them. So we hike back out, and he's still in his Girl Scout uniform and still being gracious to all the families that are walking down the trail and blah, blah, blah. He goes back to San Francisco, and 2 weeks later, 2 weeks after this event, I got a call. Bobby's in San Francisco General, and he's got encephalitis. I jump on the first thing smoking, and I fly down to San Francisco, and I run into San Francisco General. He's already comatose. Bobby, I love you. Don't do it. Don't go. Don't go. Okay, that's a story about a hero. I'm going to tell you one more. I had another friend, and his name was Cassius Jones. And Cassius Jones was from Texas. And he was beautiful, and he was black, and he was really hunky. And he was just a complete doll. And I had this little affair with him in the bathhouse, and it turned out we weren't sexually compatible. What a pity. And we turned into really good friends. Cassius Jones was a captain in the Air Force. He flew the AWACS planes on the DEW line up in northern Canada and Alaska. He was a fucking airline pilot in the Air Force, and he was, a captain. So Kaz got transferred to Germany, and he called me up from Germany, and he said, I'm being discharged. And I said, why? And he said, I've got HIV. I said, oh, that's bad news. What are you going to do? And he said, I'm coming back to your house, and I'm going to do a People of Color Against AIDS movement. Okay, Kaz, come on. So here he came. And for 8 years, Cassius Jones led the People of Color Against AIDS network in Seattle. And he was president of that organization and built it from the ground up. And he also became president of the Bailey Boucher House, which was the first complex, medical complex, residential complex for people with AIDS in the world, and it was built in Seattle. And he built it. He was the president of it. He did all of the stuff. He picked out the decorations. Oh, he had a lot of interior design qualities. And he built this organization called People of Color Against AIDS Network, which was hugely successful. And my house filled up with men of color who had AIDS, who were like doing this movement, and like they were like in and out of my house for years. Nobody even knows about Cassius Jones, but look at the work that he did. Look at what he accomplished. You know, he rounded up 50 or 60 men of color to help him do the People of Color Against AIDS movement in Seattle. And he built this medical complex called Bailey Boucher House, which was state-of-the-art. And he did it out of my upstairs apartment. So he's there for 8 years. He starts losing weight and getting sicker, going down the path. And but this time I'm living with my husband, JB, and I'm going back and forth to my house. And I walk up to the upstairs apartment one morning, and Kaz is having a grand mal seizure. Here's my buddy laying in the bed having a grand mal seizure, right? And I'm, fuck. What do I do now, you know? So I wait a few days till things calm down, and I say, Kaz, the time has come. It's time for you to move into Bailey Boucher House, you know? You built it from the ground up. It's a fabulous facility. You're failing. You're having grand mal seizures, and you're living in this apartment alone. And it's too risky. And there's 43 steps to get into this apartment. And the time has come for you to move into Bailey Boucher. Bailey Boucher. And he said, I'm not moving into that dump. I said, Kaz, don't force my hand here. Like, I'm the landlord, and you're the tenant. That's the relationship that we have, and that's what I'm pulling on you. I'm telling you, as your landlord, that I am not going to accept the responsibility of you living in this apartment, and you have to move to Bailey Boucher. You have to, and I'm the landlord, and I can force you. You rotten little fake, phony, pseudo-revolutionary white motherfucker. You're gonna pull that shit on me? You're gonna call the man on me? Is that what you're telling me you're gonna do? You're gonna call the man on me? Here's the goddamn telephone. Call him, call the pig. Go ahead, I dare you, call him right now. Okay, Kaz, you win. You win. Like, I get it. Like, you're not going to move to Bailey, but you're not going to move into that dump. And I'm not going to call the pigs to haul you out of here. So, let's go. You know, okay, you're not going to move. I'll have to buy in. It was about me trying to control the nature of his death. And I thought it was my job and my responsibility to take power away from him and assume power over how he was going to live and die. And that wasn't my job, it wasn't my role. You're not supposed to take power away from dying people. You're supposed to empower them, right? Well, it can be a hard job. But I finally got it, and he made it clear to me, like, you know, you can't do this. I get to decide my fate, not you. It's my life and it's my death and it's not yours. And that's the way it is. And God damn it, 2 weeks later I walk up the stairs. There he is in a grand mal seizure. which he'd been having for 16 hours by himself. Fuck. Kaz, you did it. You did this to me. You did it to me, right? You laid here in a grand mal seizure in my house for 16 hours, and I had to find you. So I called the ambulance, and the ambulance came up the 43 steps, and they packed him in a gurney, and they hauled him down the 43 steps to the hospital, and of course he died that afternoon. Nobody knows who Cassius Jones is. But look at what he did. Look at what he accomplished while he was dying. And everybody's calling me a hero, and you've got this story twisted. Right? Kaz is the hero. I'm not the hero. I'm the messenger. Bobby Campbell is the hero. I'm not the hero. He's the one who climbed the goddamn needles in a Girl Scout uniform, not me. So it turned out I had the privilege of giving Bobby Campbell's eulogy at the corner of 18th and Castro to a couple of thousand people, which was nice. But it doesn't make me the hero. And it turned out I'm the one who got to give Cassius Jones' eulogy at the biggest black church in Seattle. But it makes me the messenger. It doesn't make me the hero. I'm just the one who lived to tell the tale. Yeah, I can put on a good show, and I can write a good song, and my poetry is cool, and blah, blah. Yeah, thank you very much. I know all that. But these other adjectives that you're throwing on me are inappropriate. They're not who I am. I'm not a national treasure. Cassius Jones is the national treasure. Thegla Ben Miriam is the national treasure. Bobby Campbell is the national treasure. People don't even remember them. I'm tired of being called names that I don't deserve, right? And it's the way the industry works, and I have a very interesting story, and people are trying to sell records, and the music industry pumps you up and tries to take you out of the working class and glorify you, and I don't want to leave the working class, and I don't want to be glorified. But it's what I have to do in order to get this message out. There are literally hundreds of lesbian and gay men and transgendered folks inside socialist organizations right now, cranking out the work, doing the work, doing the work, doing the work, completely unsung. They don't get any attention. They don't get the microphone. People are not paying attention to them, but I know who they are because I was there with them. I went to a party. I'm going to finish this up with an illustration. I went to a party of a lesbian who was having her 75th birthday. And she was a very noteworthy activist lesbian in Seattle's lesbian activist community. And I go to the party. There's like 40 dykes there, and me and a couple of other men. And people are talking about Lavender Country. And I had worked with all of these women for like 40 years. They knew me in a different context. They saw me as somebody other than this idol who made this album. I wasn't that to them. I was one of the activists who, did work with them. And they put it all in perspective. They were going, yeah, were you happy that Lavender Country hit the scene? And we're glad for you that, you got the notoriety, and it's a good thing. But they didn't see me as an idol. They didn't see me as an icon. That's not who I was to them. I was Patrick, one of the crew. And after all this BS got said about Lavender Country, one of them piped up and said, Patrick, you ain't shit. You know goddamn well we did all the work. Which was the truth. That dyke was talking the truth. Because she knew who I was, and she knew where I fit into this community, and she knew that I wasn't any more important than any of them, and in fact, in a lot of ways, I was less important. And I knew that, and so did all of the women who were there. And it was like, oh, this is all home week. I can really kick back and feel comfortable here. I know who I am, and I know where I fit. So the Lavender Country story is an important story. And yeah, it's a very good album. It really is. It's very well crafted, and it's very insightful, and it's very heartfelt, and it really describes our situation. And it's got some nice poetry. But it was always that. It lay there for 40 years, being nice poetry, telling the truth, and nobody was listening to it. And I lived my whole life that way. And all of a sudden, all of these epithets are being hurled at me, and it's very odd. It's very odd to be in this position. To have 10 documentaries made about me. 10 documentaries? Cassius Jones doesn't have one documentary. Fagla Ben-Gurion doesn't have one documentary. Bobby Campbell doesn't have one documentary, and I have motherfucking 10 documentaries. This is all twisted, you guys. It's not how it was. It's not how it's supposed to be. It's not the real history. People are making ballets out of Lavender Country, and now they're making a Hollywood movie out of Lavender Country, and some actor in England who just won the Best Actor Award for the British Oscar is contracted to play me in a movie. This is too much. This is out of perspective. This is not real. It's not the way that it happened. It's not the way I lived my life. I didn't choose this. It was thrown on top of me when I was 70 years old. I didn't aspire to it. I didn't want it. So why am I doing it? Because the world needs Lavender Country really bad right now. The fascists are after us. They're going to murder us if we don't unite and get some solidarity and figure out how to fight back. This is serious as a heart attack. They're gunning for us. They're passing laws against us. They have guns. The time has arrived. The reason that Lavender Country has risen to the position that it's in is because the fascists are coming. And we need Lavender Country and all kinds of things like it in order to unite and in order to get the job done. I haven't changed. I'm still a screaming Marxist bitch, the one I was when I was 25. Lavender Country hasn't changed. It's the exact recording that we made in 1975. What changed? The world changed. The world turned into a place where people could understand gay liberation. And the world turned into a place where everybody is fucking afraid of fascism and know that we have to fight it. And they see Lavender Country as a vehicle to do that. And that's why I wrote it. That's the very reason that I wrote Lavender Country in the first place, was to use it as a vehicle for social change. I didn't use it to be famous in Nashville, because it wasn't going to do that. So the reason that I'm putting up with all of this name calling is because I know that we need Lavender Country, we need Queer Country, we need Paisley Fields, we need everybody in the room who's in the band who came in here with me. That's what we need. And we need it really bad. And we need it yesterday. And we need it quick right now and in a hurry. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. And the icon chip is a bunch of fluff. And give it to one of the heroes and take it off me. That's the end of my story.